What is going on, guys? Joey Franzo here, as you can see, with Flex Training Systems. How are we doing tonight? A little bit of a different coach's corner. I actually had Sean put together some audio just because his situation was kind of complicated. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go through, I'll go through the meet like I normally do. I do have some of his training footage that I wanted to kind of show you guys, to compare, to what he had done in training versus what we were going to do on the day. And then at the end, I'm going to have Sean come on and just kind of explain what happened with his cut, how he was feeling, throughout the meet. And, I'll come back in at the end, leave you guys with an outro, maybe drop a tag or something. Like I do, and then you guys can let me know if you guys enjoyed that, and if you did, maybe I will do this with more athletes in the future. So let's get right into it. Alrighty, guys. So I'm gonna break it down, then Sean's gonna break it down. So I guess you could call this part one, the first half, but it's all gonna be one video, as you guys can clearly see. Here we go. So at this point, everything seemed fine. He was able to gain his weight back after I saw this non-weight, right? I call that non-weight. That is not even weight, right? Not even rateable. You know what I mean? It was so fast. It was so fast. I knew he was on. I felt like he was on point today. I knew that his top end third squat would be there. And immediately after I saw this squat, comes off the platform, and I'm like, 290, right? 290's there, 100%. No doubt. We got it red for depth. It oddly looks extremely deep from the front. You guys will see here. Sean had hit this in training. And with Sean, he doesn't really get too much out of a peak. He kind of has crazy fast recovery, almost like a female lifter, you could say, type recovery. So his training is going to be pretty much a big indicator of what he's going to have on the day. And really quickly, let's run it back. As he's coming up out of the hole with that, you're going to see his head kind of wobble up and down. This bar, I would say, well, let me pause it for a sec. This is it's not an experimental bar, but it's a newer bar. It's a Titex bar. It whips. It is more comparable, I would say, to a Texas Power Bar. That's actually a very good comparison. It even has similar knurl, I would say. Well, at least the Texas Power Bars that we have at Zoo. They're not very sharp, and they have a good amount of whip to them. Historically, I've always had good deadlifts on meets that have that bar. For squat, for somebody like me that is a very knee dominant, I guess you could say, squatter, I like having bars like that. They're using bars like that because I can kind of time the whip out of the hole and use it to kind of help me power through. Whereas guys that squat like Sean, where they're going to have to fold over a bit more, I've seen them kind of do better on an Alico bar, which doesn't move as much just because they would prefer the stability. I'm not really too sure why it works that way, but you'll see as he's coming up out of the hole, he's going to start to, as he's fighting, he's kind of going up and down, in the middle there. It's just the bar whipping and him having to stay with it. I don't know why they cut away whoever this was that took this video because, his celebration would have been nice to see, but 3 for 3 on squat. This after squat, I thought to myself, Russ had missed his third, and the plan with Sean is to go 187.5, 197.5, and then we go for the record, which I believe is 2:0. It's 2:01.5, so we'd have to go 2:02. I can't jump 10 kilos with Russ from an opener to a second just because it's a higher percentage of his strength. This is where Sean is going to gain ground. And then if Sean can outpull Russ, based on the plan, you never know. Granted, if Sean had been on, I would have pushed Russ harder on deadlift. And I think Russ had a good amount in him. Had Sean not had the issues with his, bloating after, the fact. You know, who knows? Who knows? Literally, it's in the past now. We can't really think about it. But I wanted to pause this for a sec and just break something down really quickly on bench as we look at Tina peeking out over here. But so Sean likes to, I guess you could say, break the wrists or hold the bar higher in the hand. Um, and that's something that he has found works for him. Um, for me, I prefer to hold the bar as low as possible into the hand to prevent the bar from rolling. And I don't remember this ever happening to Sean in training, but one of the reasons why I like holding it lower in the hand is because it doesn't move. This is for me personally. I mean, I bench like a normal person in quotations. I can't even bend my wrist like that. It hurts like hell. But if you see here, well, first off, I think he got kind of a long. I mean, it was a long hold. What people need to remember, and I'm gonna make a post about this, down the road, is that, so you have a judge here, and a judge. This is his arm right here, right? He's not gonna get the start command until both of these judges drop their arms, and these judges are checking to make sure his butt's on the bench, his arms are locked, his feet are down, head down, and all that stuff, right? Everything has to be in line. After they've checked all those things, then they'll put their hands down. So you might, get stuck holding it as long as for a little bit longer than you used to, and in which case, especially I think his hands were super bloated. He said he was having trouble holding the bar. Again, he's gonna explain all this at the end, but he comes down, he pauses here, right? Look at the tie text, right? Look at this. Everything's in line, blah blah blah. It starts to roll down, right? I don't even think he started to initiate any kind of like motion. I think it just started rolling. Yeah, so it started. It was a bit longer of a pause. It starts to roll, towards the bottom of the hand, which is where I would prefer to hold the bar in anyway, right? So that can't happen. But I think his hands were like I wasn't the one lifting, and I'm gonna take his word for it. His hands were super bloated. He couldn't hold anything, especially for that length, perhaps. As long as they had him paused and stuff. So the bar starts to roll. It didn't look too good. I think we only jumped 5 to 424. Yeah, so we jumped 5 kilos. So obviously, things are not going to plan at this point for Sean. Russ, on the other hand, I think I took a like a normal plan jump for him. I think the plan was to match or beat his PR by 5 pounds, and I think we ended up matching. Part of that has to do with Russ made a technical error on his second. So if that happens, there's no shot of me pushing. I'm not gonna push Russ for anything higher. So yeah, Sean. Obviously, we're not jumping 10. We jumped 5. So this changes things. The lead starts to slip a little bit when you're down by that much on squat. But Sean might be able to make up pounds here, depending on what happens. Jesus Christ! Hold on. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So okay, that's gonna fatigue him off the bat, and you can see this head judge looking around. He's looking for those hands to drop. He's waiting on these guys to drop their hands. He can't do anything until the other judges give him the signal. So he puts his butt down. He's checking. Okay, so now he gets the start command. It's the same thing. So it even seemed like maybe as the meet is progressing, his hands are bloating even more. He's starting to lose stability. Everything feels funky. He's not able to kind of stabilize, like normal. He starts to bring the bar down, and it looks like right when he touches the chest, the tie text starts rolling towards the bottom of his hand. Again, that's why I prefer to hold it in the heel of the hand. And if he is internally rotated enough, you might still be getting some of that happening. Meaning like the outer portion of his hand is it's more like his heel versus the top part of his hand, which is kind of his upper hand. So it's almost like the bar is, kind of in an angle, like a diagonal angle from the knuckle of your index finger to the bottom of the heel of your hand on the opposite side. But the bar starts rolling. It's just gonna make it so much harder for him, to fire up. That even with this technical thing going on, I believe his sodium was like over 9,000 at this point, and I'm pretty sure muscles don't fire the same uh, when that happens. So that was tough. You know, obviously things are not where we had planned for them to be. Um, uh, you know, which is a shame because based on squat, that had indicated to me that everything was going to be there. Um, you know, in terms of like the weight cut and him gaining his weight back, and then for this to happen, it's just like, you know, oh well, we gotta take what's there. On the day, I would, you know, we're gonna jump 5 pounds. If he gets that, I would consider this salvaged. You know, if anything, you know, granted, it could have been worse, but this is not something that we can have happen ever again. I believe after this, I have some footage of his 200 kg, which you guys will see, which is 5 keys more than this, which he hit in training like 50,000 times, which is why, you know, I was very, you know, surprised that I wasn't surprised. It was just I was not disappointed in him. I was just disappointed at the situation because he had the best training prep of his entire life, and for things just not to materialize on the day, due to a very small like variable, um, that has a big impact. It just it's unfortunate, but this one, I think the blow is just in full effect. You know, you can see, you know, he's having trouble just literally as soon as the bar, even more dramatically this time, touches his chest, it starts. He didn't even get a chance to lift the weight. It starts rolling. You know, probably right as he gets the press command, the bar's already out of his hands. I remember over here, I'm standing over here, and I saw it, and it was like the bar literally just wanted to just crawl out of his hands, which is unfortunate. Um, this is a 200 kg he hit, you know, 17,564 times in training. Piece of absolute chocolate cake. So you know, that should be there. I think he had he probably could have had more had things been different, but it is what it is. And so for deadlifts, you know, so after the fact, I'll just run it back real quick. After bench, you know, the boy, the man himself, Ben Escrow, is that back there, and he's telling him, you got to drink water, you got to get this sodium out of your system. You know, no more sodium, right? Just kind of get that water going. Try to flush things out as much as possible. You know, and hopefully just for deadlifts at least his legs won't be as bloated and he can actually hold the bar. And especially on his third deadlift, you know, we'll kind of see what happens when you're just like overly bloated like that. Um, so at this point, you know, we don't know what we're gonna get on deadlifts after bench. Easy opener. Sean does have his toes, you know, very out. They're very pointed out towards the plates. And, you know, when you do that, you can bring your hips closer to the bar, but you're compromising balance, or giving up balance, rather. Um, you know, so one of the things I've been trying to get him to do is to kind of maintain kind of like the angle of the knee while rotating the feet slightly forward. You might have to give up some of this to get a little more balance, but, you know, balance has just been an issue with him for so long, that, you know, we have to do something because we can't keep missing like that. I think he's fighting too many things at this point. You know, you have the technical aspect of the lift, you have the bar whip, you know, and his hands are bloated, his legs are bloated. So what happens when you're bloated like that is like you're gonna fire off, you're gonna hit here, right? You're gonna hit a little bit of friction. You know, Sean doesn't lock out with his hands below his thighs like some people can. He has to kind of fight a little bit through his thighs. So for him to be super bloated on the day, it doesn't necessarily help him as much as it would help somebody like me, for example. So he misses on balance here, but basically at this point, the plan from like our perspective, so like there's the Joey Sean and then the Joey Russ perspective. The plan from the Joey Sean perspective is, jump 5 keys because I think that's all he has, right? Given the circumstances, and that would make it so that Russ would have to pull his third no matter what. From the Joey Russ perspective, it's really it's one option if we're just going for the win, but Russ felt really really good about a second pull, and instead of just taking a small jump to kind of like get Sean out of it, like 100%, there's no way Sean wins. Russ wanted to go. He felt. I asked him like how he felt about jumping 22 pounds. He said that's just like a 10 on each side. I'm fine with, I got this, no problem. So we went 683, which ended up being really easy for us. But basically, Sean's pull is like the only route that's kind of open to us. All right, so hold on. Before we get to his third, we'll go over this. Basically, if Sean gets his third pull and Russ misses, then Sean wins. But I don't think Russ is gonna miss on this day. Clearly, especially with that bar, which is like a conventional boy dream bar. So this is a 675 he had pulled in training, which is the weight that you guys just saw him do. You can already tell like he looks way more defined here. Like just his body, he's like just not as bloated, like not even nearly remotely as bloated as he was on that day. And this is like fatigued and beaten training. He holds it for even if you just look at like how his hands are sitting into his thighs, he's not even close to the amount of bloat as like here. I think it's like back here. Yeah, so he's just so watery at this point. Like he doesn't even look as vascular as he does. Even his face, just holding a ton of water. This was definitely faster than what he had done in training, but he's not as bloated as he was on meet day here, and this is kind of like how he trains, right? So then when meet day rolls around and you have these issues, I think this is more than 675. This is 680 2, I think, or 687, sorry. 687, I think. Yeah, very confident. He fucking loses his mind there. So we jump 5 keys, and we try to just make the best of what we can on the day. He knows he can do this. I'm screaming cues at him in the back. He knows he can do this. He knows that this is not something that should be too hard for him. And okay, so this is when you're bloated, you have all this extra room for things to move around. The bar can move in your hands. The bar can move up against your thighs. I don't even know how to this day how this happened. Like, I'm looking at this and it's almost like all the weight. Were we misloaded on one side, or did he set up unevenly? I don't think so. It almost looks like that. But this was like super unfortunate. This should have gone. He gets the lift. He doesn't. It didn't look like he was losing it on balance, but it even looks like he's like super extended here and maybe not all the way extended there. Shout out to the head ref for the quick down command. Sorry about that. I immediately went to the jury to fight it. They had a little huddle and they came out and they said, no, it looked like up and down to us. It's really hard to say, honestly. I don't know. That's just what the judges thought. It is what it is. It's unfortunate. Sean was really bummed about it. And, we're not going to let this happen again. We're going to kind of quantify amounts to take in. And we're not going to let this happen. I'm actually going to have him break it down for you guys right now. So give me a sec. Alrighty, guys. So, that was my little breakdown of the meet. Kind of looking at some of the technical things and giving you guys some of the thought process behind what was happening. And now I'm going to have Sean come in. And I'm just going to play the meet footage again. And he's going to give you guys, his take and his audio. And, just tell you really from his perspective what had happened. And I'll talk to you guys at the end.
What's going on, guys? It's Sean Noriega. doing a video audio summary for Joey for this Nationals recap. Going into this meet, we had numbers in mind of what we thought I would need to hit in order to stay on pace with Russell and eventually pull for the win. Training was going really, really well for this prep. It was definitely the most confident I've ever been. All of my lifts were going really well simultaneously, which is a rare thing to happen, especially at this level. My squat had been making the most strides out of all of my lifts. My bench press was consistently around 200 kilos, and deadlift, I had been pulling multiple singles over 650 for the entire 8-week prep, which was something that I had only ever really done a handful of times in training because my deadlift is usually so suppressed in strength. So what exactly happened at this meet? Well, the water cut was one of the easiest water cuts that I've had in a long time. In fact, I was at weight the morning of, and I think that is where things started to go wrong. The reason I say that is when you are at weight, you are obviously in a very dehydrated state. And since I had all of those hours to stay at weight or be slightly underweight, I decided to consume copious amounts of sodium. And I think that this meet is what, the fact that I did that this meet is what differs pretty greatly from other meets, because I usually would weigh in the morning, and then the sodium intake, the massive sodium intake I would get after weighing in would be accompanied by water. But since this time I had all those hours, I had consumed about 2 grams of sodium plus 2 to 3 grams from an electrolyte packet without any water, and my body kind of sat with that for a few hours. So I'm going to wait for a physician's opinion on this specific scenario, but that's kind of what I hypothesize led to what I'm about to tell you, compared to other preps where I have rehydrated in a very similar manner to this one but did not experience any of these effects. So as I mentioned, that was about as much as I had ate and drank, or rather not drank, but how much I ate before weigh-ins. And then after weigh-ins, I had 2 of the tri-oral rehydration packets, which some of you might know, each have 5 grams of sodium and 2.5 grams of potassium. So about 10 grams of sodium after weighing in. And that was along with 4 Gatorades and about 1.5 gallons of water. What happened next was something that I had never experienced before, but I did not pee. Usually you have a good idea that you're hydrated when you start peeing regularly again. I peed maybe 2 or 3 times during the entire course of the meet, and by the time I was squatting, I was about 200 pounds, which was an 18-pound gain in about 2 to 3 hours, which was a pretty good sign and indicator to me that something was going on. So squats felt great. I mean, we figured out that I need a little bit more rest on squats. I felt nice and bloated. I felt strong. Squats went great. And then when the adrenaline had kind of died down from the squats, that's when things kind of, the shit hit the fan, and I started to feel a lot of different symptoms. Physiologically, what happened was I gave my kidneys a really hard time. I think that's a good way to summarize it. What happens is when you supply your body with that much sodium, the water in your body doesn't really get to be filtered by the kidneys. It leads to heart issues. It leads to brain issues. And that's kind of what happened to me. My entire body kind of swelled up, so I had edema. My blood pressure was through the roof where it was hard to breathe, and I had a lot of chest pain, and I legitimately felt drunk. It was very, very strange. It was just hard to stand up straight, and I felt very uncoordinated. Speech was slurred. It was a very strange feeling. And when I'd gotten a bench, as you'll see in the video, it was hard to hold on to the bar. The bar legitimately fell out of my hands on my 3rd attempt, which is something that's never happened before. And it just felt like I couldn't really push on bench at all, which was just very shocking to me because, I felt strong warming up and I felt strong coming into the meet on bench. And then, honestly, when I got to deadlift, I think I was so out of it because of all of these symptoms. It was like I said, I mean, I was useless after squats because of all these symptoms. But again, this was just such a rare occurrence. I have never experienced anything like that. None of my lifters have ever experienced anything like this, and I think I'm pretty confident that because the only confounding variable here was the amount of like the massive amount of salt I had pre-weigh-in that was not accompanied by any water in a dehydrated state. I suspect that kind of was the powder keg for this whole situation. But again, it was a controllable variable that I changed or deviated from my normal plan, and that definitely won't happen again. The nice thing is that this prep was so productive, and we figured out so many things that worked right. And I'm pretty confident that come the Arnold and come Worlds, I mean, we can run through and execute with the same plan and just minus a few grams of salt, and we'll be good to go.
Alrighty, guys. I hope you're able to take something away from that video. I know it was long, but we covered a lot. And I think, for those of you that made it to the end, you really, can take a lot away from this experience. If you did make it this far, let me get a hashtag work don't stop in the comments down below, because the work does not stop. There is always, the next goal, the next mission, the next, limit to break, PR to break. So, alrighty, guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Sean, for coming on and giving us that breakdown. And thank you to, I forget the name, Strength Central, I believe, for kind of chopping up that video. Allowing me to input my transformative content on top of it. But yeah, work don't stop in the comments down below. Love you guys so much. Thank you so much. We're gonna keep winning. We're gonna keep doing the thing. I'll see you guys out there. And I'm saying, catch you in the next one. Peace.